Hi everyone, the world of cloud computing, and welcome to the 9th episode of the Cloud Computing Training Show with Brad Nelson, an internationally recognised and world's #1 cloud industry expert and thought leader, David Linthicum. This show is sponsored by Nelson Hilliard, cloud computing recruitment specialists, placing great people in cloud, IoT, fintech, and AI. In this week's show, David and I will be talking about two of the greatest reservations about cloud: outsourcing the control of the infrastructure to third parties and threats to job security. Hi Dave, it's great to have you back on the Cloud Computing Training Show this week. How's it going?
It's going great. How are things on the other side of the world?
Yeah, pretty warm, pretty warm. We've had a bit of a dodgy day today, but other than that, it's looking good. I think we're up for a heat wave soon, so I can't grumble. It's a great question this week, Dave, about the outsourcing. Should IT departments be concerned about the movement to outsource cloud operations, and how will training level the playing field of traditional IT departments?
Yeah, my advice to people who are doing cloud ops or IT operations now moving to cloud ops is get smart and get trained. And so, or get gone. And so you got to remember, if you're operating an on-premise system now and you have, say, 1,000 workloads that you're maintaining, with typically going to be a large group of people within a traditional enterprise, and we're going to take those 1,000 workloads and eventually move them out into cloud in the next 2 years, that you're going to either have to shift your skill sets to understand how to do cloud ops or cloud operations, or go figure out something else to do. And that's really it's a harsh reality, but that's the reality. And so any kind of outsourcing that we've tried to do within corporate America, it's always been a hard thing to do, because it does change lives in terms of roles and responsibilities, whether it's moving the human aspects out to some of the offshore firms, or in this case, moving into the cloud. If the cloud operations, the IT operations people can't transform their skills into cloud operations, then quite frankly, people are going to have to outsource the cloud operations or replace the people inside the company. And typically it's going to be an outsourced arrangement. So my advice to them is to, as a company level, you need to give them the opportunity to learn the new skills that they need to use to basically take their careers to the levels where they need to take them, and do the cloud operations for the company. So provide the training for the IT operations folks who are interested in moving into cloud operations. And then IT operations folks, even though you're going to get training, 50% of this is going to be things you're going to have to learn on the job, and basically niches and different tool sets and things like that. You need to get ahead of it and understand what kind of talent and what kind of processes are going to in place as you operate these things. And also get into the pace of the fact that you can't go hug the server anymore. You'll never see blinking lights, inside of a data center if you're going to do cloud ops. So this is about doing everything virtual, and using management APIs and these management platforms and mobile remote systems and things like that. But if you're clever and you're good with the automation and you're thinking in an innovative way, cloud operations can actually be much easier and much more successful than they have been in some of the IT operations that have occurred over the years. But you can only understand how to be successful if you give yourself the basic skills. So this is a all-out call, because this is the biggest chasm that I see out there, because the architects understand they're moving to the cloud, the developers understand they're moving to the cloud, and they're moving into the training. But for some reason, the IT operations folks in the Global 2000 seem to be digging their heels in at the movement into the cloud, where I'm trying to basically transform skill sets to make sure that they're successful in this direction with the same people and have better, more interesting jobs, to be honest with you. And there still seems to be some resistance in both moving in that direction, but especially the training. And I can't say this anymore. If you're doing IT operations now, get cloud savvy, because whether you like it or not, it's not up to me, it's not up to you. Things are going to be moving that way. And you're going to have the skills to pay the bills. And that's my advice right now.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I said to someone the other day, in a bit of a joke, is that there's only so long you can start holding on to that legacy. And it kind of, it's got in the IT world. That's a double joke. So they got it, thankfully, and it's not just the IT departments that are having to forward think where their skill sets are going to rely in the future. It's rolling on into the legal departments, the CFOs, the CEOs. Everyone's having to rethink, aren't they, with regards to how cloud and outsourcing is going to impact their roles in the very near future.
Yeah, it's to an order of magnitude, probably 10 times as much change that occurred in the late 90s with the internet being kind of introduced and becoming part of our lives. And now we're used to having access to information and the ability to use Skype like we're using now and share information and documents and things like that. Now we're outplacing IT systems in basically the same manner. We're putting them on the open internet, which is being leveraged on the cloud provider. And that's such a disruption that it really kind of goes to the kind of what the core within the business. And so everybody's going to be disrupted in the business. That doesn't mean that we're not going to need lawyers anymore. We're not going to need accountants anymore, because we certainly are. But what they do and how they monitor this portion of the business is really going to be something that's going to change over time. And you're going to have to rechange and get your skill sets changed, things like that. You mentioned lawyers. I mean, I had a call from legal firms that are now moving into cloud-based law, which I didn't think was a niche, but it's a huge niche. There's thousands of lawyers that are paying attention to that right now. Accountants that are moving into how to create special tax issues and tax avoidance around leveraging cloud, because no longer do they have the depreciation deductions around the buying of hardware and software. And then it's systemic to everything that we do. And so I'm just trying to get people off the dime in terms of for their own sake, and making sure that they have the skills they need to move forward, and they're proactive in doing so. I'm not telling people to go ahead of the technology and start doing things before we start moving in this direction, your company moves in this direction. But if you start moving in that direction, it's a good idea to get ahead of it, for lots of career reasons, monetary reasons, but it's also better for the companies to make it happen. So the companies, I kind of put it on them to really kind of take this as an opportunity to change the culture to something more innovative and something more proactive, and certainly something that's in a training culture. So we're always reinventing our skills. I mean, every 2 years, IT is different, Brad. And so I have to reinvent myself, and learn about new things and things like that. I mean, 2 years we weren't talking about machine learning, and now we're talking about, that and containerization and serverless computing and things like that. And 2 years later, we're going to be talking about something else. 2 years later, we're going to be talking about something else. That doesn't mean you automatically adopt the shiny objects and the latest and greatest technology, but that means you have to be proactive and understanding you have to keep up with the business, whether you're a developer who's just slinging code and maybe using the same language for the last 10 years, or someone sitting in a chair in a data center who's in an IT operations role. All of those things are going to change over time. And by the way, the data centers are going to go away, so you're going to have to move your chair.
Yeah, no, exactly. I think we spoke about this actually a week or two ago, I think, on another show about a combination of the next 3 skills you need to pay the bills and to get hired immediately and that sort of thing. And also we touched on the fact that, you can't, as you say, sit on your hands. You've got to change your seat. You've got to put a different hat on. You've got to almost forward think where the market's going, or certainly understand your industry to a point where you see it's leaning more towards a certain skill set requirement. And then at least not putting yourself in a position of, being up a creek without a paddle. It's got a very famous name, that creek. It doesn't quite spring to mind, but yeah, it's a special creek, and you don't want to be up there without the paddle. So I always, bring that up in conversations. Forward think your industry, so you know where you're heading or where the industry's heading, which is going to guide you to the right sort of training. Would you agree?
Yeah, it's an absolutely necessary skill in IT, whether you're an IT leader or you're an IT tactical deployer, such as IT operations or manager, things like that. And you just got to be rethinking things all the time. And by the way, I think everybody's not cut out for it. And so if you're not cut out for reinventing yourself over and over again throughout your career, then IT is not the place to be. I mean, go do something else. And I'm into IT because it's exciting. It's always changing. If you don't like the way things are going, wait a couple of years, be going a different direction. And that does not mean you chase everything and anything out there, but the trend is your friend. And so if the trend is definitely moving into cloud, which clearly it is with the hundreds of billions of dollars that are being spent in the market and making the migrations and the growth in the industry right now, then you need to adopt that, number one, as a core technology you need to understand and embrace, and then figure out tactically what you need to do to basically shore up your job so you understand exactly the detailed skills that you need, whether it's AWS, Azure, whether it's BCDR and AWS security systems. All these things are going to be in demand, if not in demand now, which I think they are. And so you have to have the capabilities to make that happen.
Yes, I agree. I like that term you used, actually. Trend is your friend.
Yeah, I heard that from a stockbroker one time back when I was in my 20s.
Well, yeah, it makes a lot of sense for them to be friendly with trends. Absolutely. Absolutely. Dave, thanks so much for being a part of the training show this week. As always, you've brought some great content to the table. I really appreciate that.
No problem, man. Send some of that heat up here. It's cold.
Yeah, I've seen the US is suffering at the moment, particularly around your part of the world.
Yeah, that's why I'm dressed like a lumberjack.
Keep that fleecy on. I think you've got a few more months of use yet.
Yes.
Excellent. Thanks again, Dave. Really appreciate you being a part of the show. Thank you. Thanks everyone for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the Cloud Computing Training Show. And please let us know your thoughts on the show in the comment box below, or on social media. You can reach David on Twitter, which is at David Linthicum, at Twitter David Linthicum, and you can also reach myself on Twitter, which is Nelson_Hilliard. Thanks again for watching, and remember to like, comment, and subscribe to the channel so you don't miss out on future shows. Thanks for watching.